Nidotherapy is an environmental therapy. It's named after the nest, or nidus, because a nest is a very good example of a natural environment that accommodates whatever is placed within it. So even if it has a very odd shape, the nest can adjust itself so the object fits in snugly and nicely. And this is the aim behind nidotherapy. It's to change the environment for a person so it fits them much better than their former environment. And although it may sound a contradiction in terms that this is an environmental therapy, because how can a therapy which is changing the environment also change the person? We do find that if you get the right match between the environment and the person, even though that person's problems may remain exactly the same, they improve in several different ways, and often they get better. And in the next few minutes, we're going to show you 3 people who have been involved in nidotherapy, and to illustrate how they have improved. And we think it's because we've taken special notice of the environment in their treatment. Avis is a patient who had a severe mental illness, schizoaffective disorder, in which she spent 3 months in almost every year in hospital. And when we got to know her well and looked at all her needs, including her environmental ones, we came to a rather unusual conclusion. We thought it would be best for her not to be taking the standard drug treatment for her condition, but to actually get her environment right, to actually cope without taking drugs, and to improve her fit with the environment to such an extent that when she was unwell, it was for only a very short time and she was able to cope with it. This was 15 years ago. Let's see how she is now.
Should have brought a sketchbook out. Well, the whole thing, medication and going into hospital, because they force you to have this medication. It doesn't actually, it makes you feel a whole lot worse. And your liberty, you're completely deprived of any form of liberty. I believe the government is bringing in a new piece of legislation whereby you can be allowed to leave hospital, but you have to take your medication. And if that happened to me, I think I'd either probably commit suicide or try and leave the country. I find the being allowed to get well naturally. I mean, my illness obviously is a bit bizarre, but when the problem is over, it's between the beginning of the sickness and the end of the sickness is quite a short space of time, and really a big waste of money to put me in hospital to cope with it. I used to have a flat also in West London, in St Stephen's Gardens, that seemed to be about twice as big as this. But I had such a difficult neighbour that I couldn't stay there, and I moved out. Every time I've ever had a job, every time I've got ill, I've been sacked or asked to leave, or it's just been the end. And I had to get a new job afterwards, and I just got so sick of it. Because you can't get a job if you tell them that you're bananas. And if you tell them you're bananas, you don't get the job.
But Avis does have an answer. She has built a makeshift studio at the back of her flat so that she can pursue her own work. She has become an accomplished mosaic artist.
I like it because it's an artistic pursuit, and I was really, really happy when my work sold. I mean, every piece I ever did got sold, so I was very pleased. And then we get quite well paid for doing these murals. When you can't go back to work because you've been rejected so many times, it's like a haven where you don't get rejected. You can come every day. It makes the work more meaningful if you've got an actual target to arrive at. It makes it seem like we're almost doing a job. Here we're very nearly employed. A few more stages, and perhaps we could be.
Avis now has much greater confidence because of the success of her work. This has helped to reduce the feelings of alienation that in the past aggravated and sometimes brought on her episodes of illness. As a consequence, she is now hardly ever ill, and her psychotic episodes are very brief indeed. Herman suffered from what was called a persistent delusional disorder. He believed that the housing department was conspiring against him and putting him in accommodation which was always substandard and always with difficult neighbours who caused tremendous problems for him. Now, when we looked carefully at his environment, we found out that he was right in a lot of the things he mentioned. And perhaps he wasn't as delusional as all that. And when we addressed these problems and acted as an advocate in his negotiations with the council and with others over his accommodation, he also improved, and he has been much better in the last few years. Let's see how Herman is now, 10 years after we started his Nidotherapy.
I said I would like to live somewhere with a garden, and when the time came, the only flat that was available where a garden was with this ghastly man who owned the property upstairs. And I realized that he was vicious and cruel and all these things, and that, you know, he had every available situation designed to help under his thumb. And I was in a vacuum with this evil man who had everybody under his thumb. Everybody concerned with me, that is. And he was running his businesses day and night, in a house that is completely rotten. The only way that I felt that I could communicate with people would be to shout.
Herman no longer feels the need to shout, as we can do it for him, and are more likely to be heard. The changes he wants in his home environment are gradually being made to his satisfaction.
I've lived in about 20, 30 different places, and I've never felt quite at home. This is gonna be my last stand. This home is gonna be my last stand. This is gonna be, you know, kind of Geronimo's last stand. I mean, of course, I'd like to be in a relationship, but loneliness isn't something that I dwell on. Loneliness is for people who have the time to be lonely. I haven't got the time to be lonely. And loneliness isn't a mode of self-improvement as far as I understand it.
Oh, wow. Yeah. This man is going to Buckingham Palace. Don't forget to show up.
Exactly, yeah.
My God!
I can't see my friend. I think for the palace, I probably have to get a good suit and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
You know?
Daniel has only just started in Nidotherapy. He is the ultimate narcissist. He admits this, and he realizes that he is so much preoccupied with himself, he does not take any notice of the needs of others. And he also doesn't take all that much notice of the needs of his own environment. So in the early stages of treatment, we're trying to get him to pay more attention to his environment, and we're trying to get him to look at places where he might feel much more at home, and perhaps he can then adjust to his love of himself and his body to extend this to include at least some love for others.
I think that's something you need in life. You need a solid base along with balance. And you need somewhere where you can just relax and not have any worries, really. And I always wanted that. It's something I always told the doctor. I said I must have a safe place where I can just relax and rest and be happy and not really worry about men getting in and burgling me and worrying about being told I would be leaving soon.
But you never seem to put yourself out for anybody else. You don't seem to sacrifice
No,
any
I'm
part of
very
your
self-obsessed. I'm obsessed with my body, my looks, my career, how much money I earn and my dancing.
Yeah.
I want a nice, good-looking, cute girlfriend. I think if I have the right hairstyle and do the right things, I might find one.
Do you think you're very attractive?
No, not particularly. I could be more attractive. My goal is make myself more attractive. Yeah. I must. I was reading something about birds today in an encyclopedia, something about birds. And some birds actually set up nests. The male birds set nests up. And they place food in the nests. There's a certain bird in South America which places berries in its nest and then makes females visit the nest. And finding a mate in life is very important. Preening yourself, making yourself look good, having a nice home, and making sure everything is fresh and clean, and showing the girl you can provide for her. These are all important things in life.
Daniel is about to visit a hostel, which our Nidotherapy assessment suggests is quite suitable for his needs.
Wait, this is very exciting. Here he comes. Hello.
Hello, this is Daniel.
No. Okay, that's great. I feel more relaxed now. My whole body is feeling more relaxed now.
Feel a bit anxious, don't you?
Yeah, because I have the hygiene thing, the obsession with hygiene, clean surfaces, washing my hands all the time.
Look, Daniel, unlike next amount, there's a swimming pool here, a swimming pool on the right hand here.
Oh, it's beautiful, wonderful. It's a lovely colour. That's wow.
A blue colour.
Yeah, the water looks really fresh and clean. I think the water's quite fresh and clean. And it's a lovely little garden.
He knows this in his relationship with me. It's remarkably bad at dealing with time pressure. In fact, what he does, anything that has to be done in a hurry, he almost deliberately goes slow mode.
I will not rush. I will never rush.
And
I never rush. Rushing does nothing for your life. It just causes problems.
Do we have activities every day here?
Yes.
Groups. And we start with the first one 9:30 in the morning.
9:30. That's
Yeah.
late. I'm usually up until about 6.
Well, that sounds very good.
Yeah, because it's good for your whole body and brain.
Yeah. So I'm wondering how this perhaps you maybe sometimes slowing down would affect your attendance to these groups.
Oh, I think I'll be okay. I have an alarm clock.
I think
The house
probably
looks
finished our work
lovely.
here.
I mean, I think this place is a great place because it's homely. I feel quite relaxed here. And I would have my own room even, and that makes me feel better. The only reservation I have is leaving my home and coming here, even just for 6 weeks, even just for 6 months or a year. It means leaving my environment, you know?
You're in hospital.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's perhaps it's not your home.
No, but
What do you feel like?
it's still local. I've always lived in Shepherd's Bush, Hammersmith, Kensington, or further west in Kilburn.
Or Red Hill.
Or apart from when I was at the boarding school at Red Hill, Reigate, wherever Red Hill, Reigate is.
So
I was
it's a
always
change,
there.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's a real change, and it's a real sacrifice because you're breaking your connection. And I consider this an education. I consider me taking a positive step forward in my life necessary, and I can't avoid it. I'll be back home soon, within a year hopefully, so I think I can just about manage it. I won't be too homesick.
Daniel loves drama, and as acting is an excellent way of testing possible changes in the environment, all three of our Nidotherapy patients have been involved in drama productions, acting and singing. As well as helping themselves, this also helps to remove the prejudices that still dog recovery in those who have been mentally ill.
What on earth do you think you are doing? Have you taken complete leave of your senses? Do you not understand the damage you're doing to these mad people?
The Teaching of Edward is a short operetta in 4 acts. What happened when an aspiring musician, Edward Elgar, met a number of patients at the Worcester County Asylum in 1879. The people taking part in this operetta include a number of different professions, a number of students, and a number of psychiatric patients. Some of the ones who are really performing extremely well have got significant mental illness. But I hope you will get the message that people with mental illness are not all that different from the rest of us. And when we see them acting together like this, they really are completely indistinguishable.
Everyone knows the verse anyway, because we'll all join in and it will all be a bit different in that way.
Yeah, like if everyone sings.
The idea of it being in a group is fantastic. It does the world of good for me. It sort of introduced me to dealing with people under circumstances. It's more laid back than having to deal with the realities of what people are in society. So eventually, I hope it'll get me strong enough so that I can deal with the people in society.
When we're not allowed out, why not now? La 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 la.
Very nice and refreshing that Elgar can come along and with his nice open mind and sort of blank sheets and just seeing people as people and not necessarily too much as nutters brings them something to live for in their very locked up state.
Nationality for you?
No, we'll keep it Irish.
We'll keep it Irish, okay. Okay?
The play's wonderful. The play's really something very special, and the hard work which is going in is amazing. The level of experience, I think most people in the group actually went to some type of drama school or drama class before in their life, and they're quite confident and they really know the way a play would work. This is quite a pleasant experience. I think this is probably the nicest experience I ever had in my life in respect to drama.
The hospital medical committee. My name is Connor O'Flaherty Seated, but you kind people may call me conceited.
Excellent. And then sit down and then back. Excellent.
Avis, Herman and Daniel are all happy to stay the people they are. They do not want treatment in the formal sense. We hope that they have shown you that despite remaining true to themselves, they are nonetheless different, because they are more at home in a less alien world.